Kevin Harrington here. I'm with one of my favorite guests, Dr. Steve G. Jones, a clinical hypnotherapist, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the subconscious mind. And in a previous segment, we were talking about how the conscious mind is at the tip of the iceberg, kind of above the water, but the subconscious mind is the big mass below the water kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so driving the show.
The visual of that is very powerful. But let's talk about how does that subconscious mind actually work?
Well, the subconscious mind, great question, by the way. The subconscious mind works by really running the show. So the subconscious mind's job is to be the driver. When you think you're doing things all by yourself, you think maybe you want to smoke or you want to overeat or you want to overspend. Actually, the subconscious mind works by telling you to do those things, and it almost sounds like it's working against us. I mean, when you think about it, it sounds like, what is this subconscious mind is telling us to do these terrible things?
Wow.
And so we often have payoffs, what Dr. Phil might call payoffs. People overeat because they don't want to be that slim, because maybe they had some pressure that they didn't want when they were that slim. People overspend because they don't really want to be wealthy at a deep down level, because they don't feel comfortable being wealthy. They don't feel that, well, rich people are good. They were told rich people are not good. They smoke sometimes just because they don't feel that they have the power to quit. And I've worked with a lot of smokers, sometimes they say the cigarette is their best friend. You know, if everyone else leaves them, the cigarette will be there. It's the thing that makes them feel happy and the thing that calms them down.
Wow.
So there's a payoff. So the subconscious mind works by telling us these things. But if you think about it, in each of those three cases I just mentioned, there's a positive payoff. In the case of overspending, you get to avoid being a bad person, a rich bad person, or so you think. So your subconscious mind thinks. In the case of overeating, you get to avoid that unwanted attention. So you get to avoid having harassment or negative things happen. In the case of spending too much money, you get to avoid something with every one of them.
Right,
and anything we do where it seems the subconscious mind is working against us, believe it or not, it's working for us. So that's how it works, by doing what it thinks it's supposed to do.
Right. So obviously, what you work on is shifting what the subconscious mind should tell people to do. Then, correct? So,
right.
So you're overeating, and you think that, you're going to get too much attention if you lose weight and whatever. So how do you work to shift what the subconscious mind is thinking about? How does that work?
Another great question. So that works by creating a new association. So we've got to create a new association in the mind. The subconscious mind, remember, it is on our side. It's designed for our survival. So having extra weight is something that it sees as something that's good for us. So we've got to convince it as something not good for us. So actually, there are tremendous detriments in terms of having visceral body fat, the extra body fat that's working against us. It can cause early death. It can cause a lot of things in the meantime to happen. So the body fat that's underneath the muscles, that's actually contributing to things like fatty liver, for example. We know that that's horrible. We know in men that if they can lose that belly fat, their testosterone goes up pretty quickly, because it just works that way. So that's the way the body's designed. These things are actually, so if we can part of it is education.
Right.
So we're educating the client about how these things are actually working against them, and part of it is changing those associations. So there's no longer a fear of losing weight. There's no longer a fear of stopping smoking. There's no longer a fear of having money, getting rid of those fears.
So let me ask you, as a clinical type of an advisor, mentor to people, do things happen as people change that are physical happenings, like as you're losing weight, your skin, you get rashes, you get, if you stop smoking, you get withdrawal? How do people deal with some of the negative things that happen to their bodies as they're putting their subconscious mind into a different mode, and now, things happen, right? How do they deal with that?
Yeah, well, when you think about it, when you do lose weight, you can have extra body skin,
Right.
that's kind of negative. Well, you would have to go to a surgeon for that, to have that handled. But that's not a big deal. I mean, you should be happy, the person losing weight should be happy that they have lost that weight. They're going to live longer, healthier, feel better about themselves, and look better. Sometimes when people stop smoking, because there is a physiological component to it, they are addicted to it, if you will, to the nicotine, they could have some form of withdrawal. So that's going to have to be dealt with. That's dealt with in the way I do it with hypnosis. It's built into it, so they're able to cope with it. Some people find that very challenging. That's why some people say stopping smoking is very difficult, because they find that they want to, you know, put their fist through a wall, for example, when they stop smoking. But when I do hypnosis, I always build that into the recordings. I always build that into the sessions, so they're able to find an outlet, a physical outlet for that extra anxiety they have.
The programming of how to deal with some of the things that are going to happen during, you know, the shift is occurring.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about things such as gaining money. You know, if someone wants to figure out how they can program themselves to gain money and how they can deal with those things that might come up, one of the things to do is to get really clear on the contribution that you're going to make. You know, you and I are contributors to the world. Everything that we do, the more benefit we get, that's the scoreboard. We know more people are benefiting. You know, you don't get rich by just helping yourself. You get rich depending on, as we know, how many people you help and on how big of a scale. So one of the takeaways that people can get really clear on is the contribution they're going to make beyond themselves. Because a lot of times people who do these things, who have challenges with these things, have low self-esteem. And so they think that they're not worthy of this. And so if you just tell them they can do it because they're worthy of it, it's not going to help that much. If they know that it's going to benefit other people and not doing it is going to hurt other people, then they become a crusader to stop that.
Yeah, so you can actually probably program the subconscious mind to almost look at the negative things that they're temporary. It's transitional, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's part of the process. Almost like a no pain, no gain kind of thing. Does that make sense in your world?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of struggle. That's normal with anything. There's going to be a little bit of struggle. There's going to be the potential for sabotage. You know, let's look at wealth. You know, when people start making money, they can start to feel uncomfortable. You know, they can start to feel, oh, maybe I don't deserve this, or you know, how much is too much? Especially in a world like this, especially in internet-based marketing, which you and I are both involved in. You know, there's really no limit. We can make unlimited amounts of money. So you start to think, how much is enough? How much is too much? So there can be pain of that sort. So what I would say to anyone who's interested in doing that, you've got to prepare yourself. You've got to prepare yourself for the change. And one of the best ways you do that is by starting to associate with other people who are already living that change and realize these are good people, these are quality people, these are people who contribute. They're not evil like our parents may have said. They're good people. And then you open yourself to that possibility. Another thing that I find that helps in terms of practical steps is having affirmations. I use affirmations. I write them on my mirror. I put them on a Post-it note, or sometimes I actually write them on the mirror. And you can erase them with a green scrubby, and it won't scratch the mirror when you're done, when you want to change them. But I always phrase it in the here and now. I make it as if it's already happened, and I'm very specific. If there's a certain amount of money that I want to make, I'm very specific. There's a certain car I want, I'm very specific. There's a certain place I want to live, or a certain thing I want to do, I'm very specific. So phrasing in the here and now, having it as if it's already happened, stated, and being very specific, those things really help a lot.
Right. So programming the subconscious mind to deal with some of these negative things, almost as if, you know, when I think of, you know, in sales, I remember I would warn people that hey, you're likely to maybe, after you've made this purchase, think that maybe you shouldn't have made this purchase. But so, you know, that's a natural thing to be thinking about. In the subconscious mind, it's preparing them for the fact that there's going to be some tough times that they may be not able to deal with, but that's part of the process. And once they get through that, you know, they're set. And then the last point of that, and maybe this is a takeaway, I didn't realize that you said you refer people to almost like a network. Is that part of being a clinical hypnotherapist? Is that a takeaway here that we could be talking about?
That's great. It's not officially part of it, but I want people to have a support group. If you're not smoking anymore, stop hanging around smokers. Don't go on the smoking break. If you want to stop drinking, stop going out to bars and hanging around those people, at least until you're strong enough. If you want to stop gambling, don't go to casinos. If you want to make more money, hang around wealthy, successful people. You know, these are things, because our social influence is always going to have a very, very strong impact on who we are, because birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. hey, if you got some wealthy people you want me to hang around with, let's do it. I like hanging out with
There you
wealthy
go.
people. You know why? Have you ever heard the term, your net worth equals your net work? Okay?
That's
so
great,
who
yes.
you network with
Yeah.
is going to benefit you to increase your net worth. So,
Yeah.
so that's part of change your mind, elevate yourself,
Yep.
and now hang with the right people. And if it's a money thing, you're going to be hanging with the wealthy people, and you're going to be getting opportunities that can increase your wealth.
Absolutely, very well put.
Yeah. So I think any last takeaway?
I think that's a very good point that you made about the networks. I think the takeaway would be that when you work on something like hypnosis, working with your subconscious mind in any way, it's not just a matter of a magic wand and making things happen, although hypnosis is a big part of it. It's a matter of work. It's a matter of practical steps that you can put in place that are going to have a solid, ongoing they're going to make a solid ongoing difference in your life.
Great. Just, I think maybe to summarize, it's not just snap your fingers and it's done. Whatever changes you're going to make, it requires getting some good advice, somebody like yourself, but also executing kind of a plan.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a little bit of pain involved, but once you get through it, it's a very positive thing, and onward from there. So that's
Absolutely.
great. So thanks. Hope you got something out of this for those that are listening, and good having you with us today.
Thanks, Kevin.
Dr. Steve G. Jones. Kevin Harrington signing off.